The courtroom smelled of floor wax and stale coffee, a sterile scent that usually made me anxious. Today, however, it smelled like anticipation. My brother, Marcus, sat less than 2 feet away from me at the plaintiff's table. He was wearing a navy suit that cost more than my car, checking his watch with a theatrical sigh as if the proceedings were merely a formality he had to endure before the champagne corks popped. The judge was shuffling through the initial motions, her glasses perched on the end of her nose. The air conditioning hummed, filling the dead space in the room. That's when Marcus decided to twist the knife one last time. He shifted in his chair, the leather creaking loudly, and invaded my personal space. He leaned over, his breath smelling of peppermint and arrogance, and whispered just loud enough for me and perhaps the stenographer to hear. "New year, new owner," he hissed, a smirk pulling at the corner of his mouth. "Don't worry, little brother. I'll let you keep a desk in the basement." I didn't flinch. I didn't look at him. I stared straight ahead at the great seal of the state hanging behind the judge's bench. Inside, my heart wasn't racing. It was beating with the slow, heavy rhythm of a war drum. Marcus mistook my silence for defeat. He thought I was paralyzed by the weight of his hype-rice legal team and the fabricated narrative he'd spun for the last 6 months. He thought he had broken me. He had no idea that I had spent the last 6 months not grieving the loss of our family business, but documenting his theft of it. When our father passed, the logistics company was supposed to be split 50-50. But Marcus, the golden child with the MBA and the gambling debt nobody talked about, had maneuvered himself into the CEO role. He claimed the company was hemorrhaging money. He claimed I was incompetent. He claimed he needed full control to save our legacy. For months, I played the part of the overwhelmed, passive younger sibling. I let him lock me out of the server room. I let him fire the old accountant. I let him think he was the smartest man in the room. My lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Mrs. Galloway, stood up. She didn't have the bluster of Marcus's team. She didn't wave her arms or raise her voice. "Your Honor," she said, her voice cutting through the room like a razor through silk. "Before we proceed with the summary judgment the plaintiff is requesting, the defense would like to submit a piece of supplementary evidence. We have marked it Exhibit C." Marcus chuckled softly. He whispered again, desperate. Mrs. Galloway walked to the bench and handed a single USB drive and a thick stack of printed transcripts to the bailiff, who passed them to the judge. This drive contains audio recordings from the executive meetings the plaintiff held between October and December, specifically, the meetings where he details the creation of the shell companies, used to siphon $3 million from the corporate accounts to pay off personal debts. The smirk fell off Marcus's face so fast it was almost audible. The room went dead silent. The kind of silence where you can hear the fluorescent lights buzzing. The judge stopped shuffling papers. She looked at the transcript, then at the USB drive, and finally, she looked at Marcus. Her expression shifted from administrative boredom to icy scrutiny. Marcus's lawyer leaned over, his face draining of color. "What is this?" he hissed at Marcus. "It's nothing," Marcus stammered, but his voice cracked. It's fabricated. It's a legal recording." "Actually," Mrs. Galloway interrupted, turning to face Marcus for the first time since the meetings took place in the company conference room, which you insisted on wiring for video and audio security last year to catch lazy employees. "There is no expectation of privacy. You recorded yourself, Marcus. We just used your password to download it." The judge plugged the drive into her laptop. A moment later, Marcus's voice boomed through the quiet courtroom, clear as day. "He's an idiot. I'll drain the accounts by January, declare bankruptcy, buy the assets back under the new LLC, and he'll be left with the tax bill. Happy New Year to me." The recording stopped. The silence returned, but now it was heavy, suffocating. It pressed down on Marcus like a physical weight. He slumped in his chair, the expensive suit suddenly looking like a costume on a child. He looked at me, eyes wide with panic, begging for some kind of sibling mercy. I finally turned my head to look at him. My face was blank. The judge slammed her gavel, the sound echoing like a gunshot. "Counsel," she said, staring directly at Marcus's lawyer, "I am denying your motion for summary judgment. Furthermore, I am placing an immediate freeze on all assets related to the plaintiff and the company. I am also forwarding these transcripts to the district attorney's office for review." Regarding fraud and embezzlement charges, Marcus's lawyer began packing his briefcase before the judge had even finished speaking. He knew a sinking ship when he saw one. As the bailiff moved to stand closer to Marcus, a subtle but telling shift in the room's power dynamic, I stood up. I buttoned my jacket slowly. The adrenaline was finally fading, leaving a cold, clean sense of finality. I walked past the plaintiff's table toward the exit. Marcus was trembling, his head in his hands. I paused just for a second and leaned down. I didn't need to shout. The room was still quiet enough that a whisper carried the weight of a scream. "You were right," I said. New year, new owner. I walked out of the courtroom doors and into the bright, cold January air, leaving him in the silence he had created.